The year is 1099. Imagine a time of knights and castles. Pope Urban II had issued a plea to reclaim the Holy Land from Muslim rule. This marked the beginning of the Crusades, a series of religious wars that would shape the destiny of the Middle East. Jerusalem, a city sacred to three religions, stood as a beacon of faith. For Muslims, it was Al-Quds, the noble sanctuary, home to the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock. For Christians, it was the site of Jesus Christ's crucifixion and resurrection. The capture of Jerusalem in 1099 by the First Crusade sent shockwaves through the Muslim world. The Crusaders, driven by religious zeal, unleashed a wave of violence upon the city. The Crusades were more than just battles for land. They were a collision of cultures, a meeting point of East and West. On one side stood the Christian kingdoms of Europe, fueled by religious fervor and a thirst for conquest. On the other side stood the Muslim world, a diverse tapestry of cultures and empires stretching from North Africa to the borders of India. The First Crusade had exposed the military vulnerability of the Muslim world. Divided by internal conflicts and weakened by political instability, Muslim rulers struggled to present a united front. Yet the loss of Jerusalem had ignited a spirit of resistance. For almost a century, Jerusalem remained under Crusader control. Generations were born and raised under the shadow of the Latin Kingdom, a Christian kingdom established in the Holy Land. Muslim access to their holy sites was restricted, and the city itself underwent significant changes to reflect its new rulers. However, the Muslim world was far from passive. Leaders rose and fell, each playing their part in challenging Crusader dominance. The Zengid dynasty, under the leadership of Imad ad-Din Zengi, emerged as a powerful force, unifying Syrian territories and challenging the Crusaders' grip on power. Born in Tikrit, 1137, a young Kurdish boy named Yusuf ibn Ayyub entered a world aflame. Even as a child, whispers of the Holy Land's fate reached his ears. He learned of the First Crusade, the fall of Jerusalem. He carried this knowledge like a burning ember in his heart. His family, though of noble lineage, faced a turbulent time. Forced to flee Tikrit, they found refuge in Mosul under the patronage of Imad ad-Din Zengi. It was here, amidst scholars and soldiers, that young Yusuf's character truly began to take shape. He immersed himself in religious studies, mastering the Quran and the teachings of the Prophet Muhammad. Yet he also trained in the art of war, learning the intricacies of strategy and the wielding of arms. Fate, often a fickle mistress, presented opportunity in the form of turmoil. Egypt, under the Fatimid Caliphate, teetered on the brink of chaos. Internal strife and external threats paved the way for Shirkuh's intervention. With Salahuddin by his side, they navigated the treacherous waters of Egyptian politics, securing their position with each carefully calculated move. When Shirkuh died in 1169, Salahuddin, at the age of 32, found himself appointed as the vizier of Egypt. This was no mere stroke of luck. His courage in battle, coupled with his sharp intellect and natural charisma, had earned him the respect of his men and the admiration of his peers. He quickly consolidated his power, effectively ending the Fatimid dynasty and proclaiming allegiance to the Abbasid Caliph in Baghdad, al-Mustadi. His rule in Egypt was marked not just by military prowess, but also by administrative acumen. With Egypt secure, Salahuddin turned his gaze north towards Syria. Nur ad-Din, his former liege, had died, leaving a power vacuum that threatened to fracture the Muslim world once more. This was unacceptable to Salahuddin. He understood that a divided house could not stand, especially against the ever-present threat of the Crusader kingdoms. His campaign in Syria was not one of conquest, but of unification. He skillfully navigated the complex web of alliances and rivalries, using diplomacy as effectively as his sword. He treated his defeated foes with respect and generosity, earning their loyalty and consolidating his rule. By 1185, Salahuddin had united Egypt and Syria under his banner, creating a formidable force that stretched from the Nile to the Euphrates. Now the time had come to confront the ultimate objective, the liberation of Jerusalem. The summer of 1187, the air, thick with anticipation, hung heavy over the Holy Land. Salahuddin, a beacon of hope for the Muslim world, marched towards the heart of Crusader territory, his army a vast tapestry of warriors united under the banner of Islam. Their destination, Tiberias, a strategic stronghold held by the Crusader forces under the command of Guy of Lusignan, the King of Jerusalem. The Crusader army, though numerically smaller, was a formidable force. Clad in chainmail, armed with swords and lances, they represented the flower of European chivalry. The two armies clashed near the Horns of Hattin, two extinct volcanic peaks that dominated the arid landscape. Salahuddin's plan unfolded with deadly precision. He ordered his troops to encircle the Crusader army, cutting off their supply lines and access to the Sea of Galilee, their only source of fresh water. The scorching sun beat down mercilessly, turning the Crusaders' armor into ovens and their thirst into an agonizing torment. As the Crusaders' strength waned, Salahuddin unleashed his cavalry. Waves of mounted warriors armed with scimitars and lances crashed against the Crusader lines. The parched earth trembled beneath the thunder of hooves and the clash of steel. The Crusaders, weakened by thirst and exhaustion, fought bravely, but their formations began to crumble under the relentless onslaught. The Battle of Hattin raged for hours, a maelstrom of blood and fury, but as the sun began its descent, the outcome became clear. The Crusader army, decimated and demoralized, could no longer withstand the might of Salahuddin's forces. Guy of Lusignan, his standard fallen, was taken prisoner along with many of his nobles. Salahuddin, known for his chivalry and mercy, treated his captives with respect. He offered them water to quench their thirst and tended to their wounds. This act of compassion, so starkly contrasting the brutality of the Crusades, resonated throughout the Muslim world and beyond, solidifying Salahuddin's image as a righteous and honorable leader. The victory at Hattin was more than just a military triumph, it was a turning point in the history of the Crusades. News of Hattin spread like wildfire, reaching Jerusalem with the swiftness of a desert wind. The city, once a bastion of Christian power, was gripped by fear. Refugees from fallen Crusader strongholds poured through its gates, bringing with them tales of defeat and despair. The streets, once bustling with merchants and pilgrims, were now filled with a sense of dread. Balian of Ibelin, a seasoned Crusader knight known for his honor and pragmatism, found himself thrust into the unenviable position of defending the city. He had been spared captivity at Hattin and allowed safe passage to Jerusalem to escort his family out. Instead, he was greeted with the pleas of its terrified citizens and the daunting task of preparing for Salahuddin's inevitable siege. Salahuddin, ever the strategist, sought to minimize bloodshed. He offered Balian generous terms: surrender the city peacefully, and its inhabitants could leave unharmed with their possessions. Refusal, however, would mean a siege, and Salahuddin could not guarantee the safety of a city taken by force. Balian, though acutely aware of the city's vulnerability, refused to contemplate surrender without a fight. He knew the symbolic importance of Jerusalem to both sides. To hand it over without resistance would be an unbearable blow to Christian morale and a stain on their honor. He sent word back to Salahuddin, respectfully declining the offer and vowing to defend the holy city to the death. The siege of Jerusalem commenced on September 20th, 1187. Salahuddin's forces, masters of siege warfare, deployed their catapults and trebuchets with deadly accuracy. Stone balls pounded against the city walls, reducing fortifications to rubble and striking fear into the hearts of those sheltering within. Day and night the barrage continued, punctuated by the desperate cries of the wounded and the defiant shouts of the defenders. Balian, a tower of strength amidst the chaos, rallied his weary men, inspiring them to fight on despite dwindling supplies and mounting casualties. Section 4. Liberation and Legacy, the Return of Jerusalem. The fall of a section of the wall sent a collective shudder through the city. Balian sought out Salahuddin to negotiate surrender. He approached the Muslim camp seeking honorable terms. Salahuddin offered clemency. Christians left Jerusalem peacefully, paying a ransom. Those who couldn't afford it were granted freedom as an act of charity. On October 2nd, 1187, Jerusalem returned to Muslim hands. The liberation of Al-Quds was a momentous occasion. News of the victory sparked celebrations from Baghdad to Cairo. Salahuddin entered the city as a liberator. He restored Islamic holy sites and invited Jews to return. The recapture of Jerusalem solidified Salahuddin's legacy. His actions stood in stark contrast to the brutality of the First Crusade. He rekindled the spirit of Islam and etched his name in history. The year is 1193. Salahuddin, the Lionheart of Islam, lay dying in Damascus. His body, wearied from years of campaigning, was succumbing to illness. Yet his spirit burned bright. News of his impending death spread across his empire. From Cairo to Syria, people gathered in prayer. They prayed for the man who had returned Jerusalem. Salahuddin's life was one of extraordinary achievement. He had risen to become the most powerful ruler in the Muslim world. He united a fractured Ummah and liberated Jerusalem, but it was his character and compassion that earned him respect. His unwavering faith and strategic brilliance made him a legend. The recapture of Jerusalem was not simply a changing of flags. It heralded a new era for the city, a return to a more tolerant and just rule. Under Salahuddin's guidance, Jerusalem once again became a beacon of interfaith harmony, a place where Muslims, Christians, and Jews could coexist and practice their faiths without fear of persecution. The return of Muslim rule saw the restoration of the city's Islamic character. Mosques, neglected or repurposed during the Crusader period, were repaired and revitalized. The call to prayer once again echoed through the streets, a powerful symbol of the city's renewed Islamic identity. Yet Salahuddin, ever the pragmatist, understood the importance of maintaining a balance, of ensuring that Jerusalem remained a place of shared religious significance. Christian pilgrims, though their kingdom had fallen, were granted safe passage to visit the Church of the Holy Sepulchre, their most sacred site. Jewish residents who had faced persecution under Crusader rule were welcomed back to the city, their synagogues reopened. This act of tolerance, so rare in the annals of religious conflict, cemented Salahuddin's reputation as a just and compassionate ruler, a man who understood that true strength lay not in imposing one's will, but in respecting the beliefs of others. Salahuddin's triumph sent ripples through the corridors of history, reshaping the political landscape of the Middle East and leaving an enduring legacy on the Muslim world. The recapture of Jerusalem reignited the spirit of jihad, inspiring generations of Muslims to fight for their faith and defend their lands. Despite the eventual resurgence of Crusader aggression culminating in the Third Crusade, led by Richard the Lionheart, Salahuddin's victories had significantly weakened the Crusader states. They would never again hold the same level of dominance in the region. The Muslim world, emboldened by Salahuddin's leadership, entered a period of renewed intellectual and cultural flourishing. Salahuddin's military achievements were only one facet of his lasting impact. He championed education, patronizing scholars and establishing schools and hospitals. He reformed the legal system, ensuring justice for all, regardless of social standing. He promoted trade and commerce, revitalizing the economies of the lands under his control. These actions, often overshadowed by his military exploits, were no less significant. They laid the foundation for a prosperous and vibrant Muslim society, one that would continue to thrive long after his passing. The story of Salahuddin's conquest of Jerusalem is not just a tale of battles won and cities captured. It's a timeless narrative about the power of unity, the importance of compassion, and the enduring strength of faith. Salahuddin's life, though lived centuries ago, continues to resonate with people of all faiths and backgrounds, offering valuable lessons in leadership, diplomacy, and human decency. In an era often characterized by division and discord, Salahuddin's example reminds us of the importance of seeking common ground. His willingness to negotiate with his enemies even as he prepared for battle, his respect for their beliefs, even as he fought to reclaim what he believed was rightfully his, serve as powerful reminders of the importance of dialogue and understanding. Salahuddin's legacy transcends the boundaries of time and culture. He stands as a beacon of hope, reminding us that even in the darkest of times, courage, compassion, and unwavering faith can illuminate the path towards a brighter future. His story is a testament to the enduring power of the human spirit, a timeless message of unity, tolerance, and the pursuit of justice that continues to inspire and resonate with each passing generation.